Hedera HBAR, as a result of the crazy run that happened earlier this year, has become one of my largest crypto positions in the industry. I wanted to go ahead and provide, as someone that owns a six-figure investment in HBAR, a comprehensive guide to get you started, to really get you the alpha you need to make a proper decision when it comes to HBAR. And of course, I'll be giving my own personal price predictions as to what I think HBAR can have price appreciation in the year of 2025. Now, I've got to go ahead and tell you, I took the time to put this together. This is probably going to be 30 minutes here. So sit down, grab some tea, grab some coffee, grab what you need, because after you've watched this video, you're not going to have to watch any other HBAR videos for the next month. That's just how it works. You don't have to watch any of my videos, any of the other YouTubers' videos. This is all you're going to need when it comes to HBAR. That's how detailed this is going to be. So I went ahead and ordered it into several narratives. I'll be explaining each narrative very in depth so you can get the best picture of it all. And of course, I'll start with the one that's probably the most important, the story behind HBAR itself and why it's even a thing. The Made in USA narrative has become a very large part of the crypto appreciation in 2025. Bitcoin hit fresh all-time highs. Trump's been really positioning himself with that America First agenda. Regardless of your politics, it has been great for cryptocurrencies like XRP, Cardano, HBAR. And it's important to stay ahead of the game when it comes to this, to position yourself for further growth. And that's exactly what HBAR has done. I wanted to start with the Made in USA narrative because I think it's extremely important to HBAR. And just by starting off, let's talk about the co-founders and what they've done in this space, the story behind HBAR itself. Now, Dr. Leemon Baird, he's the one that came up with the HBAR technology, the reason that we even have HBAR today. He has over 20 years of technology experience. He was professor of computer science at the U.S. Air Force Academy. These are the direct U.S. ties. He has also served as chief scientist in several labs and the co-founder of several successful startups, which were acquired, so that's always great. He was also the fastest PhD in computer science from Carnegie, faster than any student in history. This is 2 years, 9 months. He has multiple patents. I mean, this guy, he's decorated, absolutely decorated. And the other co-founder that decided to go ahead and build HBAR. If you want to think of Leemon as the brains, the tech enthusiast, that's what he is. If you want to think about the guy that's really pushing the business forward, it's Mance. That's exactly what he's done. And just an explanation behind him, he's an experienced technology executive and entrepreneur with more than 20 years of strategic leadership experience in multinational corporations, government agencies, and high-tech startups. And he's the co-founder and CEO of Hedera Hashgraph. His prior experience includes serving as the head of architecture and labs at Ping Identity, founder and CEO of 2 tech startups, the senior executive for product security at a $1.7 billion revenue organization, program manager, and this is the US tie part, for a very large-scale software program for the Missile Defense Agency, the course director for cybersecurity at the US Air Force Academy. So we see Leemon US Air Force Academy, Mance US Air Force Academy, put that together, and research scientist in machine learning at Wright Laboratory. He has an MS in computer science, so those ties are kind of coming together, and a bachelor's of science in computer science from Mississippi State University. Now, these 2 co-founders ended up creating the technology behind HBAR. The main thing that Hashgraph went ahead and solved was a mathematical problem of achieving distributed consensus at scale. And that they did with the Hashgraph algorithm. The only fair ordering technology on the planet that currently works in the crypto space. It's leaderless, so there are no MEV bots, there's no sandwiching, the finality is quick, it can do 10K TPS throttled, they've tested it, it has been done, and they are post-quantum. So they're ready to go ahead and make this happen. And that resulted in Hedera being founded, and that has resulted in really everything that's been built in HBAR. And we've seen a lot of people take advantage of HBAR's technology. In fact, very recently, this is September 4th, Hedera was selected as the only additional blockchain to be a candidate for FRNT during the commission's Q2 evaluation, having met stringent criteria for speed, reliability, and regulatory alignment, something that as this video progresses, you're going to hear more and more of. Now, if you didn't know what FRNT was, this is to do with the state of Wyoming making a token. It's called the Frontier Stable Token. It's going to be a one-for-one backed coin, so a stable coin. It's going to be on HBAR. It's not only going to be on HBAR, but of course it will be on HBAR as well. This is the only additional blockchain that is entering FRNT. So Hedera is getting and scoring a large win here when it comes to stablecoins. And that's something you're going to hear a lot of when it comes to HBAR. But something also important, I did a lot of research when it comes to climate change. Now, regardless of your opinion on climate change, it is important to keep in mind that there are a lot of EV incentives, and the world is moving to a world without carbon. There are a lot of companies out there that need to have their carbon footprint tracked. That is just a thing that is inevitable. Everywhere we go, carbon footprint tracking is just becoming a thing, and it has become normalized. And Hedera is one of the best chains when it comes to that stuff. Hedera is the greenest proof of stake network in history. It is by far the best for the environment. I mean, it's not even close. And they didn't do this just because. They did this because it fits the narrative. If you're looking for a chain that's doing things right, and I still remember back in 2021, Elon Musk was saying, oh, you know, Bitcoin's not sustainable. This isn't the right place to be. And what ended up running? It was Hedera. At the end of the day, this chain has gone ahead and positioned itself to be in the right place at the right time because they're doing all the right moves. They might not be moving as fast as some other chains, but they're doing things in a way where institutions and enterprises aren't going to need to be afraid on whether or not this tech is good for the world or not. They've gone ahead and built that tech up front. And as you can see there, by far, per watt hour transaction, Hedera is slaying everyone. And through their fair ordering technology, it makes it even easier for enterprises to build on HBAR. Let's go ahead and give an example here. Let's say, Chase Bank wants to go ahead and come on to HBAR. Well, they're going to have a couple issues. Let's be honest. They're going to have a couple issues. One of them is the fact that HBAR is governed by a council. And I'm going to be explaining more on that later. But all it means is that there are validators all over the world. And that just represents the way that transactions are gone ahead and done. You need a validator to validate a transaction. That's the only way it goes through. Now, this council is all over the world. And so Chase, being a US bank, they can only have validators validating from the United States of America. I mean, clearly, you wouldn't have a validator from China putting a transaction on Chase. I mean, that just wouldn't be a good thing for Chase at all. And so HBAR has gone ahead and developed some awesome tech specifically for institutions and enterprises operating in a jurisdiction where they can only have validators from a certain country. And that is this right here. This is called HashSphere. These are private networks that are built on top of Hedera. So if you ever think about Ethereum L2s, it's a similar concept, but in its own manner built on Hedera. I think this is an absolutely phenomenal move. If we're going to get enterprise institutions building on Hedera, there are a lot of people that say, why would Google, for example, one of the council members for HBAR, why would Google build on HBAR when they could build their own network? Well, my friends, it's because they don't have to build directly on Hedera. They can build their own HashSphere, which is an L2. They can build their own HashSphere on top of Hedera. They can build their own networks, and they can have their own validators from wherever they want to have these validators, and they can have the privacy that they so desperately need. No enterprise wants to share their strategies with the world. They want to have that privacy. If anyone wants privacy, it's these major conglomerates. I mean, no doubt about it. These guys want privacy. So HashSphere is here to make that possible. So Chase can go ahead and grab those validators from America or wherever they want to have them and not have to worry about the mainnet Hedera council, which I think is great. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And when it comes to fair ordering, this is also important because most of these corporations can't be asked with gas fees. They don't want to deal with gas fees. Remember in 2021, Ethereum gas fees were the #1 issue for that network. Sometimes it costs $1,000 just to do a single transaction. But when it comes to Hedera, their technology, the Hashgraph technology, allows them to have fixed gas fees, aka no matter how many people are using the Hashgraph network, there are only X amount of gas fees. It will never change. It never gets higher. It never gets lower. And you can't speed it up with gas. It's for the institutions, my friends. They are positioning for the institutions. And if you don't believe me, They've entered the 𝐑𝐞𝐟𝐞 alliance with some cryptocurrencies that if you're in the space, you definitely know. I mean, they've got Ripple, they've got Algorand, they've got some very big boys here, Constellation, Revive Labs, XRPL, Swirled is, HBAR here. These founding members are part of the 𝐑𝐞𝐟𝐞 alliance, which helps enable mass market decentralized recovery. What is this? Well, if you're just investing in crypto, you do not really care. You really don't care. All you care about is the fact that this 𝐑𝐞𝐟𝐞 alliance allows the HBAR Foundation, Swirled, Hedera in general, to be aligned with some of these big players. They're aligned with some of the biggest players in the crypto space, which is exactly what we want to see. If they're aligned with the other Made in USA cryptos, that only helps them in the long run. Other things you should know is in terms of regulatory compliance, Hedera is leading the charge. I mean, they really are leading the charge. They are all over this stuff. Whenever they have private sector panels or the government has panels, the US government, of course, is the one that I'm talking about. Whenever they have panels talking and meetings talking about cryptocurrency and regulation and ways to go ahead and advance civilization, Hedera is on top of this stuff. You could go ahead and check it out for yourself. I left the link here for you. I of course, leave all the sources. Hedera, convening democracy roundtable on how blockchain technologies support human rights, transparency, and sustainability. What does that have to do with? This right here. This is the alignment that I was talking about. They're aligning on all fronts to make sure that this Made in USA narrative fits for them. And I think the world is going to move in this angle. I think that human rights, transparency, sustainability, the EV revolution that's really been happening in China and is now spreading across the world. I mean, this is absolutely massive for anybody that's in the United States of America. This is going to become a more important thing as things go ahead and advance themselves. And in terms of these major institutions and ETFs and funds accumulating HBAR, let me go ahead and tell you one of them, and I think you might recognize this one. Grayscale in July added HBAR to its smart contract platform fund, and the US exchange, this United States exchange, Kraken, listed HBAR. These events signal rising confidence. Very interesting. Hedera, HBAR, 5.8%. This is as of July 3rd, 2025. They do change it, but they removed other cryptocurrencies and added HBAR, which I think is very interesting. And guess what else? Grayscale, which you'll like that name a lot more in a second. The SEC recently delayed a decision on, wait, let me go ahead and read this. So Canary, Hedera, HBAR spot ETF. So very interesting, Tata. But check this out. Let's go ahead and scroll right here. HBAR, Grayscale. Interesting. So Grayscale filed for an HBAR ETF. Very, very, very interesting. So there's two HBAR ETFs that have been filed with the SEC. The first one's from Canary, and the one that I think is more serious is Grayscale. Sorry for Canary fans, but Grayscale is just the bigger fun. Now, check out the likelihood of approval in 2025. Check this out. 90% chance that we get an approval here on an HBAR ETF by the end of this year. Absolutely massive. I mean, this happened August 12th. Grayscale registers for Cardano and Hedera ETF in Delaware, indicating it may soon file for a spot Cardano and Hedera ETF. And what happened here? Well, we had exactly that happen. That is absolutely enormous for investor confidence. And we can see here, HBAR, Grayscale, Canary. These are massive narratives when it comes to HBAR and their alignment with the United States. And my friends, this right here is the first massive thing to come for HBAR. This is the main reason we've had a lot of the price action that we've had in the year of 2025, and why we're likely going to go ahead and continue to dominate, quite frankly, over the course of the rest of the year. So let's go ahead and get into the next one that I think is extremely important. It's the council. The council for HBAR is how this thing differentiates itself with other chains. Now, the blockchain, or the hash graph rather, is governed by 36, 37-ish council members. Now, each of these council members have about, 2% share, something like that, 2-point-something% share of the network. And just going to go ahead and name some of them. We've got Google. So like I said, Google, IBM. We have LG. We have Standard Bank, Shinhan Bank, Ubisoft. We have Avery Dennison, which will come up very soon. We have Aberdeen, BitGo, Chainlink Labs. And I can kind of go on and go on. I could talk about T-Mobile, Australian Payments Plus, Hitachi, right? A lot of very large corporations. This is the number one unique factor when it comes to HBAR. The chain is governed by massive companies already. That is the main advantage that HBAR has over other chains in the crypto space. So of course, the tech is awesome. We love the fair ordering. We love the Made in USA narrative, but the council allows all of this to happen. Without the council, without these ties, I'm going to be honest, HBAR would just not be as bullish. But thankfully, we do have the network being validated by some of the largest companies on the planet. Let me go ahead and elaborate here what this thing is. Now, the Hedera Council, it's the layer representing fair, decentralized governance of the Hedera network, made up of leading global organizations committed to responsible governance and building enterprise solutions on the Hedera network. So each of these people here are exploring building in Web3. Very interesting, right? A new website, they launched it, they have meeting minutes, they talk about things that they push there, and it is absolutely massive for the HBAR network. Now let's talk about the exact specifics. Up to 39 leading global organizations, 11 unique industries, 1 university, and 1 nonprofit across major markets. Every member is required to run a network node, and it is absolutely decentralized, probably more decentralized than Ethereum by far. 2.6% influence per member, and they have 3-year maximum term. So it's not like they're going to go ahead and stay forever. They are going to be a rotating council. Now, I went ahead and looked into HederaCon. HederaCon is a conference that Hedera ran during ETH Denver. And Charles Atkins, which he is the man, the myth, the legend over at the Hedera Foundation, which I'll explain more later, said this. So this is a direct quote from him. He said that the Hedera Foundation is an entry point for Web3 for major companies. They want a proof of concept, and they want to get large grants from the Hedera Foundation. So ways to piece this together. They want to go ahead and show to their executives, to the people up there in Google, that it is worth building in the cryptocurrency industry. And they want to get that proof of concept. They want to test something to make it happen. And so they join this foundation and they join the council and they get these large grants from Hedera. And I'll tell you an example of this, and an example that went quite well, quite frankly, in regards to the Hedera Council. They get these large grants and they're able to test on-chain transactions, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So let's talk about one of those applicable reasons that people have gone ahead and done. Now, Avery Dennison did Atma.io. So Atma.io, they are an absolutely massive player in the space. They went ahead and tested all of their supply chain on chain. And so we were getting on HBAR about 3,000 transactions per second. 3,000 transactions per second. This happened for quite some time. As you can see here, that's 52 billion of transactions. That's a lot of transactions. And this is all pretty recent. Now, like I said before, this isn't currently happening anymore. These are stress tests for the network, and it went ahead and ended. We see the post-Atma period. We had about 44 transactions per second. And today on HBAR, we have only about 3 transactions per second, 14 transactions per second. There's no current tests on the Hedera consensus service. But when they were stress testing the network, we had an absolutely huge amount of transactions per second. Some context on the way that they work with Hedera council members is, for example, Atma receives over 100 million HBAR in grants. What happens is that all of this HBAR is circular. They're using it on the network. So all of it's sent back to the Hedera treasury. So not really losing out. It's a way for these Hedera council members to stress test whatever they want to do, whether it's, tracking all their supply chain on chain, they can go ahead and do that. They're absolutely willing to do that. And that is the main advantage. Of course, this has gone ahead and seized its operations since then. But I think this is great. This can show that just one council member throwing their tech on chain can have an absolutely enormous effect. I don't think when I'm thinking about price predictions and when I'm thinking about the future price of HBAR, I care about transactions per second. I think it's absolutely irrelevant to HBAR's growth long-term, but it is a great metric to see that when the network is under load, that it can have no problem handling as many transactions as Atma was pushing at that one time. So always great to go ahead and see that. Now, let's talk about the way that some of these council members are actually using HBAR. Well, Dell is going ahead and exploring distributed ledger technology, so DLT. They want to go ahead and get experience with the opportunities and run their own Hedera node. So they're just exploring Web3 here, developing applications on the Hedera network for highly decentralized mission-critical environments such as edge computing, and openly sharing its results for the industry's collective learning. So like I said, an opportunity to go ahead and show the world a case study on HBAR and DLT technology. Now, Aberdeen's using this tech to go ahead and democratize investment opportunities and increase financial inclusion. We have ServiceNow, which is powering enterprise workflows for 80% of the Fortune 500 companies out there. They want to go ahead and integrate into its Now platform HBAR in an effort to enhance the trust in multi-party enterprise workflows, including surface level agreement monitoring and procurement. So that's a lot of companies that could potentially be tracked on HBAR. A scintilla here from DLA Piper is a tokenization engine and digital asset creation platform that provides technology services to complement DLA Piper's legal capabilities. So these are all things that are being used right now as we speak. And I can keep talking about the new members like Arrow. I mean, they've got what, $6.7 billion. We have Blockchain for Energy, Mondelez International. I mean, tons of people out here that are using the Hedera Council to power what they're going to be building and showcasing to these companies that it's worth building in the crypto space. And that has allowed these connections for HBAR to be very friendly for institutions to hop in. But what I think was probably even more important was their first ever decentralized crypto council member, Chainlink Labs. Hedera adopted the Chainlink data standard to accelerate DeFi and tokenized RWA adoption. All that means is that now they're using CCIP. If you didn't know, which if you're learning about HBAR now, you know this is the first time you're learning about it, HBAR has its own language. It doesn't build in the same language in the same way as Ethereum. And Ethereum, as we know, is the biggest DeFi layer in the world. There really is no a layer bigger than Ethereum right now. And so most smart contracts are built on Ethereum. And what CCIP enables us to do is allows HBAR to finally use contracts from other chains. That is an absolutely huge deal because that means over 40 blockchains can now interact with HBAR, which means a heck of a lot of more money can flow into HBAR. I mean, all of this stuff is very fresh. HBAR, you couldn't even use it 4 years ago. It's all fresh technology that's coming to light right now. All of these moves are happening as we speak at the moment. And that makes the Hedera Council a huge catalyst when it comes to HBAR overall. Now let's talk about AI because AI is one of their focuses. They want to focus on agentic AI. This is a big deal because, as you saw, Dr. Lehman went ahead and received his PhD. But check out what he received his PhD on. He went ahead and wrote reinforcement learning through gradient descent. So very similar to agentic AI. We have 𝐑𝐞𝐫𝐫𝐚𝐥𝐬 Labs, which, if you've ever heard of NVIDIA, Intel, they're going ahead and using 𝐑𝐞𝐫𝐴 Labs' technology. They're putting on-chain, immutable records. This is rooting trust when it comes to AI security and innovation. The framework is the culmination of 2 years of intensive research. This is absolutely huge. It introduces a hardware-based SLSA security level 3 system for creating cryptographic certificates to govern and audit AI workflows. This is huge, and it's happening on the Hedera network. NVIDIA, Intel, you heard that right. That is actually happening right now as we speak. The thesis Lehman went ahead and said when they were trying to give a reason as to why this is so important is that AI is only going to become a more important part of our lives. And we want to make sure that this AI is doing the right thing. We really do, because if it isn't, that's going to be a very bad thing for us. So as autonomous AI agents become more prevalent, they need to have this kind of stuff here. And HBAR is focusing heavily on this. In fact, they went ahead and acquired Casper. So if you've ever heard of Casper, the cryptocurrency, they rebranded to Prove AI. That is pretty interesting. They partnered to co-develop Prove AI with IBM. IBM is a council member on HBAR with their Watson X. Here is the talk of it. Casper Labs, development team on Casper Network. On October 22nd, Casper Labs decided to rebrand itself as Prove AI, an AI governance tool launching on Hedera. It was initially a tool built by Casper Labs and IBM built to launch on Casper Network, and they're now doing it on HBAR. Very, 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 very interesting. And this is what Hedera adds to Prove AI, because Prove AI wasn't just going to go ahead and choose any chain that gave them grant money. They wanted very specific criteria here. Hedera consensus service for further trust in AI governance, a more established enterprise-focused network with market attraction. So this is direct ties to exactly what I've been talking about this entire video. The mutual connections with IBM as a long-term partner to Casper and Hedera. exactly what I was talking about when it comes to councils. Hopefully continued collaboration with Linux, as Hedera is a co-founder of LFDC and a larger network of leading institutions that are beginning to adopt AI. And talking about AI, Charles Atkins said that Hedera is very interested in AI. If you're building a project that has AI and you're looking for funding, you think you've got a good shot on the blockchain space, you should be applying for grants from the Hedera Foundation, because they want to invest north of 9 figures into AI. That is a heck of a lot of cash going ahead and flowing directly to AI. So if you have AI projects, you got to go ahead and do it. They also had a breakthrough in AI called HCS-10. This means AI agents can now talk to each other on chain and send each other stablecoins on chain. Very interesting. They can start talking to each other on chain. So that's an actual thing. It's called ConvAI, a decentralized AI standard by Hashgraph Online. So that's very, very, very cool. And that's the AI narrative that is going to become a bigger and bigger portion of HBAR over time. RWA is the next big one. Now, RWA, real world assets. We're talking about stablecoins. We're talking about tokenizing assets on chain. That's the big overarching thesis behind this part. And RWA is probably the biggest part of HBAR other than the Made in USA stuff, the stuff regarding the council. First thing that I want to talk about is Bonzo Finance. Now they have a coin. It is a liquidity layer. This was a big part of USDC yield, a big part of the amount of growth for stablecoins during a time that HBAR didn't have a lot of stablecoins. As you can see right here, you have a pretty decent APY, a decent yield on your USDC. A lot of people were bridging over USDC to HBAR as a result to farm this Bonzo yield. So people are just holding their money here. They were getting yield in USDC, which I think is absolutely excellent. And as a result of this, we had a bunch of brands come to HBAR. And I'll tell you, a big one that came here that's going to be very exciting. But first, I want to talk about Swarm. They're tokenizing stocks on HBAR. So they've launched stocks on chain like Apple, Tesla, MicroStrategy. They're EU prospectus regulatory compliant. Remember, regulatory compliant, that's always the thing here, very important. It's extremely important to be regulatory compliant during an age where a lot of these cryptos are just doing crime on chain. They don't even care anymore. So when all this catches up to them, HBAR is going to be on top of it. And there's good reason that HBAR has been the safest play here in the crypto space. Now, when it comes to Bonzo and people porting over their USDC to HBAR, we didn't really have a solution for that. But we did get one, and that's pretty awesome. You could bridge USDC across Hedera, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, and Base now. So that's always cool. And it's happening here on ETA Bridge. So you can do that on ETA Bridge right now if you wanted to. If you wanted to do the Bonzo finance yield. Bridging is a fundamental to a crypto's interconnected future. Remember that I was talking about CCIP? By making ETA Bridge a Hashgraph offering, we're not just connecting chains, we're inviting external liquidity into Hedera while giving our community tools to explore beyond. So external liquidity can finally come into HBAR. And that's been clear as day. We have Dovu, another crypto here on HBAR building that's been just killing it lately. They make the tokenization and sale of ecological credits seamless and secure. So RWAs, including decentralized identities and verifiable credentials. Each digital asset comes with a transparent Dovu audit trail, permanently documenting everything on chain on Hedera. So very cool. Another project here building on HBAR. As you can see, the chart's doing pretty well. So good for them. We have other things here. StegX, the institutional real estate marketplace, announced it deployed $100 million worth of real estate tokens on the Hedera network, and they're using ERC 7518, the compliance first token standard developed by them. That's great. We have hundreds of millions of dollars tokenized. AUDD, launching on Hedera, becoming the network's first commercial implementation of the Hedera stablecoin studio. That's the Australian dollar stablecoin. Australia, yes, the country Australia. That's awesome. The HBAR Foundation announced an investment in ARCAX tokens, representing Fidelity International's US dollar money market fund. So they invested into Fidelity's money market fund. That's great. That's absolutely excellent. And guess what? They're not just investing in it. They're doing it on HBAR. They can actually go ahead and invest into these shares on the Hedera network by ARCAX. That's awesome. If you look at the stablecoin market cap on HBAR, today it's at $149 million. Check out the beginning of 2025. It was a very small fraction of that. We almost had no stablecoin market cap, and it has just had a meteoric rise. It has been a crazy difference in the amount of stable coins here coming to HBAR. We also had this announcement here, KO, so KAIO, you can research this yourself. They're thrilled to announce their partnership with the Hedera Foundation to accelerate their mission to transform institutional funds on chain. So institutional funds building on chain, well, they can do it here on Hedera now. So more and more institutional and enterprise applications are coming to HBAR, and that's absolutely huge. But a sector that doesn't get talked about very often on HBAR is beginning to have an insane level of growth. And this is that more speculative season of HBAR. And I want to go ahead and say, before I get into this too deep, yes, I'm making money off of it by buying these coins and selling them, but these are very high risk. If you're new to crypto, don't get into what I'm about to talk about. You could still go ahead and look into what it is, but don't overcomplicate your life. If you're new to crypto, just get into HBAR, have your fun, and that's it. But with this being said, meme coins. Yeah, meme coins have been getting a lot of traction on HBAR. They've been going parabolic practically. And it's coming from this launchpad called memejob.fun. The biggest meme coin right now is 𝐑𝐞𝐿. Now, 𝐑𝐞𝐿 received a grant from the HBAR Foundation for their AI chatbot. So they built an AI chatbot. They got a foundation grant. They're the largest meme on HBAR, and they injected over $500,000 in liquidity. They have the biggest liquidity pool here on HBAR. They're killing it right now. I mean, this chart is just going up and up and up and up. They are the #1 indicator for the health of the retail ecosystem. Retail is obsessed with meme coins. And so you're kind of confused probably at this point, because I was just talking all of this stuff about the fact that HBAR has historically been an institutional chain. They want to go ahead and market to enterprises. And yet for whatever reason, we're getting a retail boom on HBAR. That's just happening right now. It's very odd, but it's happening. We have other coins like DOSA, for example, a traditional IP. They have their own IP. They're building it. They have strong community support. They're a strong runner-up. Still very small. And then we have Smack'Em here, a crypto gaming coin, a memetics coin created by an HBAR OG by the name of HBAR If you want to do your own research, they have a game right now on Google Play, the App Store, called Smack Mosquito. And they also integrated this game in over 169 million phones within Indonesia and the Philippines, which of course is a big win for the Hedera ecosystem. Now, why in the world is this happening? Why would meme coins have any traction on HBAR? Well, considering HBAR is historically an institutional chain, why memes? HBAR is becoming a retail forward chain. This is the pinned tweet for the Hedera Foundation from July. HBAR is now live on Robinhood, bridging the gap between 25 million customers and Hedera's native token. As one of the largest, check this out, the way that they worded this, retail trading platforms in the world, this marks a pivotal moment for accessibility to the network. Very interesting. They also are building a trading terminal. Very, very, very interesting. The better the technology, the easier it is to trade on HBAR, the more retail traders are going to want to go ahead and trade here. That's why there's more money here. Trade on Orbit's one of them. That's very interesting. I want to go ahead and quickly highlight another major sector that's getting a lot of traction right now. It's going absolutely parabolic. NFTs. I mean, who's talked about NFTs in years? No one's talked about NFTs in years. But because of the fact that HBAR didn't really have a bull run in its DeFi sector, everything across the board is running. Everything across the board is running. We have NFTs also making highs. You could trade them either on CentX or Tableau. As you can see, the volume here had an enormous spike in August. It's been having a chiller month this month, so not going as crazy. But if you look at the largest collections, the largest one right now by far being Dead Pixels Ghost Club, it's the clear winner. It's the ecosystem health indicator. If they're doing well, we know NFTs are doing well. If they're doing bad, we know NFTs aren't doing so hot. And they're also the creator of a unique technology called Forever Mint. But first, I want to show you the floor price for this thing. It went from like 800 HBAR per NFT all the way to over 2,000 HBAR per NFT in a single month. So these are clearly going ahead and gaining lots of value. They also had 1.7 million HBAR in a single day traded. That's a lot. That's $400,000 in NFTs. That's more than CryptoPunks V1 and Pudgy Penguins in that day. That is an absolutely enormous amount of volume coming to HBAR. We have other ones here that ran. We have Just PFP, which has a talented artist, Mark Rise, ecosystem support. They added the Forever Mint, which also caused a spike. What the Forever Mint essentially does is allows people to go ahead and roll for rare NFTs, ones that are rarer than others. They just cost more to go ahead and roll. Now, this is a very popular model in the gacha ecosystem. So we're talking about Pokemon. We're talking about CSGO. We're talking about some of the biggest games out there have loot box mechanisms. But for whatever reason, NFTs never had that. And so Daddy Pixel's Ghost Club, they invented Forever Mint, and it was a huge success. This alone caused hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars worth of volume in the HBAR NFT ecosystem and caused this huge surge. This is the key proof to show the world, really, that one, HBAR does have a retail audience. As you can see here, it's growing. But two, that innovation does actually do something. If they hadn't released this Forever Mint feature, I don't think we'd be seeing a 2,000 HBAR price on these NFTs. We'd probably still be at 800 HBAR. So innovation is definitely being rewarded within the HBAR ecosystem. Other things that you should go ahead and know if you're within the ecosystem, there was a collection called Hangry Barboons. I owned these like in 2023 or something like that. Before I sold them. They used to be the #1 collection, but they were abandoned. Apparently, they went ahead and abandoned our chain to build on Bitcoin, and then they abandoned themselves again. So it just died. It just completely died. Now, I think this is a good TLDR of what happens when you leave HBAR. So if anybody wants to learn, this is your TLDR. In terms of whitelist opportunities, there was recently a whitelist. It's called F-Wish. They went from 69 HBAR to over 500 HBAR. I think I saw them at over 800 HBAR selling, so very interesting. Another one's called Bad Birds. Now, of course, guys, I don't know if any of this stuff is guaranteed. I am going to farm it, but these opportunities are very wishy-washy. Now, in terms of where people hold their HBAR right now, there's two places you can hold it. You either go ahead and hold it in centralized exchanges, or you hold it on Hashback. Now, I'll start with the one that you mostly use probably. Centralized exchanges like Coinbase and Robinhood are convenient, but come at a great cost. Compared to banks, they use your money to buy into treasuries, they lend it, they do whatever they want with it. And then, when you want to cash it out, you want to cash it out, but you're losing money every year. They're making money all over the place. So centralized exchanges, they skim over each of your trades. If you're buying, they charge you a little bit more. If you're selling, they charge you a little bit more. And if they go insolvent, you lose everything. It's a lose-lose situation. It's just very convenient to use. It's not your keys, not your crypto. And you also can't stake or use any DeFi apps within HBAR. I think it's only good for futures, but experts are the only ones that should probably be trading on futures. And of course, if it's convenient, if you're new to crypto, you don't want to complicate your life, you can use this. But I would argue, if you're new to crypto, take some time, take a couple hours to learn how to use DeFi and Hashback. You want to own your own cryptocurrency. I don't know why we're giving over our crypto to these centralized exchanges for no reason. We should own a crypto. And so the one that's been highly accepted and widely accepted is called Hashback. Now, Hashback, it's the leading HBAR wallet. It has ecosystem support by the Hedera Foundation. I think it's on iOS, it's on Android, it's got a Google extension. They have a token called PAC, which does buybacks, and you could do liquid staking, which if you didn't know, you can stake on HBAR, but it's different from other chains. You don't really get anything. I'll be honest, the yield is pretty bad. It's not great right now. However, there is an airdrop you can farm right now. I think you've got probably a month left to farm this. There's no reason not to. If you hold HBAR, there's literally no reason not to. You don't lose anything for doing it. I guess the only con is that you're holding HBAR, which I would say is more of a perk instead of a con. But you got zero lockup on liquid staking. You could trade, you could sell, you could move it, you could do whatever you want, and it will stay staked whatever you have left on that wallet. Now, this airdrop is called Origin. Now, Origin wants to create the premier launchpad for early stage investment opportunities. They're going to have a coin, and you can get a part of this coin by literally just going on the link in the description. I'll leave it there. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't farm this. Literally, there's no reason why, unless you just don't want to go ahead and use Hashback, which at that point, you're at a disadvantage there. Now, in terms of where people are trading right now on HBAR, they're doing it on SaucerSwap. SaucerSwap has a huge lead. There's no competitor right now. Everybody's getting destroyed. The top DEX is SaucerSwap right now. It's not even close. In fact, they recently got a 12+ month, this is over years worth of grant funding from the Hedera Foundation to accelerate core protocol development. So HBAR's foundation, they said, you know what? We're going to give you guys the lead here. You can do what you want because you've proved yourselves. They'll directly support deeper ERC20 and Hedera token service interoperability, which is exactly what we want. That's that CCIP stuff I was talking about earlier. Embedded cross-chain integrations, an expanded trading tool set, and a mobile app with wallet support, and a perpetual futures trading platform. So perpetual futures are coming to HBAR, which is great. We don't have to do it on exchanges anymore. Other things we should see is a level of growth here yearly for SaucerSwap. Back in 2014, they only made $2,000. That's nothing. But this year, so far, they've made 128,000, which is a heck of a lot more. That represents the amount of change here for HBAR over the course of the past year. They've made $4 million in fees. $4 million in fees. Versus in 2024, 12,000. The ecosystem practically didn't exist in 2024. And in 2025, I mean, that is a beast of fees. As you can see right here is the TVL and everything in between here for Saucer Swap. They have a coin. It's the largest coin on HBAR right now. I mean, it's clearly an ecosystem indicator. It's the DEX for HBAR. If this thing does well, we know the ecosystem's doing well. It had a very big run here in late 2024. We know HBAR's price went parabolic there. And it's kind of cooled down since then, but has been ranging much higher than it was before, which is amazing, 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 amazing technology. We love to see that. Now, with all this being said, everything we've talked about, we're missing one category. We're missing the bonus category. Now, the bonus category is the stuff that I didn't really find any direct correlation to anything, but I figured was important to talk about in this video if we're trying to get everything in HBAR. We have a SocialFi app that's coming to HBAR. It's happening on September 9th. I don't think it's a big deal in terms of HBAR's price action, but it is something to look after. It's AEL, a creative webpunk social platform. Very cool. Another thing that I think is very interesting, and the main reason I'm actually bullish on HBAR this year, I'm not gonna lie, I've been holding HBAR for years. 4 years. And sometime in 2022, I'm getting pretty bearish on HBAR because they weren't doing what they needed to do to get attention to Hedera. Now, in May of this year, I became exponentially more bullish on HBAR. Exponentially more bullish on HBAR. And that's because the HBAR Foundation went ahead and recategorized itself as the Hedera Foundation and just completely restructured everything. Everything in HBAR got restructured, and they have been killing it. I mean, look at the charts on HBAR. Everything is just going crazy on HBAR. And that's because they're actually finally doing something for the ecosystem instead of just cashing out. I mean, we're finally getting some awesome stuff here for HBAR. I love it. I really love it. If anybody from the HBAR Foundation is listening, I mean, you guys are killing it. You guys are absolutely killing it. And if the old team is listening, you guys suck. I hate to be that guy, but you guys suck. You guys didn't do anything. You guys just cashed out millions of dollars on us. Hey, come on, guys. You can't be doing that. But anyway, so here are their plans, right? So they have a developer ecosystem. They want enhanced tools. They're going to have prizes. They're going to focus on dApps, DeFi, community growth, events, integrations, services, interoperability. That's a big narrative that's here for HBAR. They haven't had that before. And of course, they want to go ahead and support fully open source projects. They put all of the Hashgraph code on Linux, which is great. Now, I watched Hedera Con, like I said. Charles Atkins, if you didn't know him, he's the former VP at Polygon. He's the current CEO at the Hedera Foundation. A lot of the people in the community love him, and I think he's doing a better job than Shane. I mean, hey, you got to glaze the guy when he's doing his job right. You got to glaze the guy when he's doing his job right. Now, this is his announcement when he took the job. He's honored to step into the role. This happened in January 1st, and here are his focuses. We will enhance our commitment to strengthening our ties to the community, DeFi, and accelerating our initiatives in AI, tokenization, and digital identity. With rich experiences at Polygon, Aptos Labs, and as president of Hedera, he's thrilled to go ahead and kill it. Now, AI, RWAs, and DeFi are the big things for HBAR. Now, I've gone ahead and told you everything you need to know when it comes to HBAR. I've told you how to trade. I've told you all the important narratives. I've told you everything you need to look at when it comes to HBAR. But I know you want to have numbers to look at. You want me to make a price prediction. I have a crystal ball that I have magically created out of nothing, and it's just going to give me a number here. No, I'm kidding. I don't actually have one, but some people might actually think that's true. But I do have numbers and data, and that's always exciting to look at. So let's look at it. So Charles Hoskinson said, this is July 13th, congrats to Stellar and HBAR. They have weathered the storms of the past few years and are growing well. So Charles Hoskinson is glazing. This is the Cardano founder. That's always great to hear. Now, in terms of price predictions from several sources, we've got Coinpedia saying we can go up to 75 cents in 2025. Changelly thinks we're going to go back to 25 cents. So, they're a bunch of paper hands. We got Gate.io saying 16 cents to 32 cents. So, a little bit bearish. We have Captain Allcoin saying we can see 40 cents to $1 with ETF approval hype, $2 with adoption. StealthX blog quoting Wall Street Bets trader Rocco, giving us $1 in Q3, which was very wrong because we are not at $1 right now. And we've got 𝐸 saying a bunch of different numbers. So we haven't had any major institutions give price predictions. I did look and I did try to cross-reference all this stuff. So we're going to have to go ahead and give our own data. So the current price of HBAR is at 21 cents. If you look at the current price, you know, it looks all right. It does look like we're growing and it doesn't look bad. Now, if we look at the market cap, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this is a monster. We are well past our all-time highs back in 2021. This coin is inflationary. And that means more and more coins are introduced every single year into HBAR. Now, it has become almost negligent, the amount of HBAR that is entering the ecosystem per year. But at some point during the bear market, it got really bad. It got really bad. A lot of coins were getting put out there. A good thing for us, though, in 2025, it doesn't really matter anymore, but it does give us very interesting price discovery. The market cap for HBAR is substantially higher than it was back in 2021's peak. I mean, that's the peak of 2021, meaning HBAR has really never been higher. So if I'm trying to give you a price prediction from last bull market, it doesn't matter anymore because this 45-cent HBAR is very different from the 45-cent HBAR that we'd be seeing this bull run. We almost saw, I think we saw like a 39-cent HBAR at some point when we had this initial run here, which is relatively close to where we had last all-time high. Now we had, what, like $14-15 billion worth of market cap. That's pretty big. It's very big, considering the last all-time high was $6 billion. That's almost 3x the amount of market cap. If we look at HBAR's market cap dominance, so this is, all this chart is HBAR against every single altcoin. So its share of the altcoin industry is exactly what you're looking at right now. And you're going to see that back in 2021, we had about 0.24% at its peak. So if we look at the peak price of HBAR, I mean, this is the highest HBAR ever was back in 2021. It's at about the same exact point right now. I mean, literally right now, if we're trying to direct any sort of correlation, I mean, we are in a key support level as we are speaking right now at a 0.24%. We hit up to 0.45 almost at some point in late last year, which means that HBAR is practically retesting where it was at all-time highs last time and wants to go ahead and have that big bounce. Now, I know a lot of people are bearish on the month of September. And there's good reason to be bearish in September. It's not even crypto related. It's earnings related when it comes to the stock market. Just to give you a little bit of explanation, when these companies have their earnings reports, which they're going to have this month, we're going to get a lot of volatility because their algo bots just aren't going to be doing anything for a bit. So we got to wait for these guys to get out of vacation and come back and do their thing. In October, we're going to have a big run. I'm saying it now. October is going to be a big month for HBAR. It's a big month for crypto, a big month for stocks. It's going to be a big month for HBAR. If we can go ahead and hit about a 3x right now, that would represent not even a double from where it was on HBAR dominance. Not even a 2x. I'm not even saying a 2x in HBAR dominance. I'm saying like a 1.5x from now. We would hit Cardano's market cap. And that would be a 70-cent HBAR right now as we are speaking. Now, if we do a hell of a lot better, we could maybe hit $3.93. That's XRP's market cap. Now, I don't see this. I don't think this is realistic. I'm not going to be saying on video that we're going to be getting a $3.93 HBAR. I think a more realistic price prediction for HBAR would be somewhere in the between Cardano and Solana. I mean, somewhere between Cardano and Solana is definitely realistic for HBAR this bull market. I could see $1, $1.50, maybe even $2. In the most bullish scenario, I definitely think we could hit $100 billion on HBAR. The fact is that enterprises, institutions, everything is here. All the technology is here. All we need is for these institutions to adopt it and use it. And that all depends on whether or not they're going to use it. Now, the odds are in our favor because of the fact that this council exists. That's a big part of it. This council exists, and it's a huge part of it. And listen, I'm going to hold in HBAR since it was at 4 to 5 cents. There's big reason that I'm so bullish on HBAR because I've been able to eat up a lot of the price appreciation that HBAR has had over the years. And in fact, I was able to go ahead and kill it in the NFT market and in the meme coin market because I'm so tapped into HBAR. I'm so obsessed with HBAR that I'm able to go ahead and tap into every single narrative. I think these price predictions are more than realistic. Now, whether or not they hit it or not, that's a different story. You know, anything can happen in the world and that'll destroy any sort of price prediction that I'm making. I would say you shouldn't go ahead and risk it all for the biscuit. You should definitely take profits as you see accordingly, as you see, you know, if HBAR hits $1 and you got in at 5 cents, there's no reason that you shouldn't be taking some level of profit. It just really doesn't make any sense. You should take profit. And I implore that people take profit. Don't hold your bags forever. You could dump them on me. I don't mind. But I wanted to give this video to just showcase where I think HBAR is potentially going, why I've decided to park 6 figures worth of capital into the HBAR ecosystem and beyond, and really just why Hedera is so special to me. So if you enjoyed the content, share it to the world, subscribe for more content like this, stay classy, and I'll see you all in the next one.